HOA Karen let guests park on my lake estate, then called cops when I blocked it with brick columns. Have you ever walked outside and found 15 strangers drinking rose in your yard like they own the place? Because I have. And that was just the beginning. It all started one Sunday morning in May. I just gotten back from a weekend away fishing trip, nothing fancy. My boots were still muddy, the truck smelled like base, and all I wanted was a quiet evening on the dock. But when I turned onto my gravel drive, something was off. Way off. There were cars. Everywhere. SUVs, minivans, even a convertible lined up in two crooked rows like someone was holding a wedding on my land. A big white catering van was parked smack in front of my boat launch. And the worst part? No one seemed remotely bothered by it. I stepped out of my truck and instantly saw her. Karen. Big woman, big hat, even bigger attitude. She had her arms crossed like she was guarding Buckingham Palace, standing at the edge of my patio. Not her patio. Mine. You can't park here, I said calmly, motioning toward the vehicles. This is private property. She laughed. Not just a scoffing actual belly laugh that made her pearls jiggle. Oh, honey, she sneered. It's HOA common space. And I am the HOA. Now that's where the blood rushed to my ears. Because here's the truth. My lake estate? It predates the HOA by 4 decades. My grandfather owned it before they even built the cul-de-sac on the other side of the hill. And I had the land grant, deed, and county survey to prove it. I took a breath. Ma'am, this isn't HOA property. It's mine. You and your guests need to leave. She took one slow, mocking step forward. Oh, we're not going anywhere. The Sterling baby shower is today. And this is the only flat land near the lake. I looked past her at a group of women in pastel dresses setting up folding chairs on my lawn. They had coolers, balloons. One of them was stringing a "Welcome Baby" banner between 2 of my pine trees. It felt like a joke, but it wasn't. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling fan and listened to the echo of her voice. HOA common space, like she'd carved it into stone. By sunrise, I had a plan. 2 days later, after clearing the permitting office and calling in some favors from an old brick mason buddy, I had 3 6-foot-tall brick columns installed at the entrance to the lakeside path. I left just enough space for foot traffic. Between the pillars, a black steel chain, looped and padlocked. I even added a little wooden sign that read, "Private NO parking, not HOA land." I thought that would end it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I heard screeching tires and shouting from the road. I walked outside to find Karen, still in that ridiculous sun hat, standing beside her car, red-faced and furious. 3 of her guests were trapped behind the columns. They'd parked on my grass again, and now they couldn't leave. "What the hell is this?" she shrieked, waving her phone in the air like it was a magic wand. "Property line enforcement," I said, leaning on the shovel I'd used to plant native wildflowers along the border. "You parked illegally. This is what happens. You can't do this. I'm calling the sheriff." I nodded. "Please do." And she did. Which brings us to the twist. Because when the deputy pulled up 15 minutes later, guess what he said? He didn't arrest me. He didn't even warn me. Instead, he turned to Karen and asked, "Ma'am, did you authorize parking on private land you don't own?" Her mouth opened, then shut, then opened again. "It's community space." He motioned to my survey map. "This deed predates the HOA. It's exempt. You've been trespassing." She screamed. Right there. In front of the guests, the cop, everyone. Like a kettle whistling on a stove that had finally boiled dry. And then came twist number 2. Because one of the women trapped behind the columns, her name was Denise Walker City, council member. And as soon as she heard the words trespassing, her expression shifted. "You didn't tell us this wasn't yours," Denise snapped, glaring at Karen. "You told us it was HOA owned." Karen stammered. "It sits implied. I'm the president." "Not anymore, you're not," Denise muttered. Because that's when the tide turned. The fallout began before sunset. That same night, the HOA emergency meeting called by the board's vice chair was held at the community rec center. I wasn't invited, but I didn't need to be. Word spreads fast when people feel duped. And Karen? She had lit a bonfire of resentment, no HOA handbook could smother. According to a neighbor who streamed the meeting on Facebook Live, God bless Tina from Lot 18, the accusations flew harder than a Florida hurricane. Misuse of authority, trespassing, lying to members, falsifying HOA boundaries in public gatherings. One woman even held up her high heel and yelled, "I sank into his lawn. Karen, my Jimmy Choos are done." Karen tried to fight back. She paced, fumed, flailed her arms, called it all a misunderstanding, blamed the contractor for misleading maps, the caterer for parking too far in, and Mema for being territorial and vindictive. But the damage was done. Even her loyal lapdogs on the board backed away. Her charm couldn't save her now. Her face looked like someone had poured hot sauce into sour milk, contorted, blotchy, deflated. By the end of the meeting, she was voted out 7-1. The one? Her husband, who left halfway through. And that, I thought, would be it. But the universe had one last poetic twist to deliver. 3 weeks later, I received a certified letter from the county. Apparently, my land had been repeatedly used without my consent for paid private events under Karen's name. Baby showers, graduation brunches, even a HOA founders picnic that had a $50 admission fee and got written up in the local newsletter. She made money off my property. And that, friends, is fraud. So I filed a civil claim. Nothing fancy, just enough to get the facts on record. Her attorney tried to drag it out, said I had no real damages. But once I submitted the video footage, the surveyor's testimony, and photos of the columns still standing tall, her whole argument collapsed faster than a folding chair in spring rain. The court ruled in my favor. She owed me damages, legal fees, and my favorite part was ordered to write a public apology to be posted in the HOA newsletter and on the community board for 60 days. That apology? It arrived in the mail on unlined paper, written in big loopy cursive like she was channeling a third-grade detention letter. It read, "I deeply regret my actions and accept full responsibility for trespassing and misusing private land. I understand that my conduct was harmful, inappropriate, and unbecoming of someone in a leadership role. But I'll be honest, it wasn't the words that mattered. It was the tone when people read it." Neighbors laughed. Some cried from laughing. And others? They came to my door, shaking my hand, asking if they could see the brick columns in person. The columns stayed. They stand there now like little red guardians, reminding everyone where the line is. Funny thing is, Karen doesn't even drive past anymore. She moved out 2 months later, something about starting fresh in a new town. I heard she tried running for a condo board in the next county. Didn't even get nominated. So what did I learn? That sometimes the best walls are the ones built with mortar and truth. That standing your ground literally can send ripples far beyond the shore. And that HOA power, it only works if you let it. So tell me, was I wrong to block them out with brick? Or was Karen just mad her game finally crumbled? The end.